Hi and welcome to the Adelaide Horror Podcast. This is your host Zombie Joe, and today's episode is 16, and it is the South Aussie Horror Special because today is the 1 year anniversary of the Adelaide Horror Podcast. Way back at the start of last year, I started to upload the original episodes of the Adelaide Horror Podcast. To quote Moby, I've come a long way, baby, in between that time. And so my episodes weren't as massive and weren't as long. The original episodes were very long. I think one movie was almost like a three-parter on YouTube. Kind of a learning curve. I went, okay, people are not going to want to look at this potato head for 3 episodes and while I talk about a horror film. So I kind of learning progression, learned to slim down the episodes a bit. So, I got there. So it was, when I came to looking at what movies I wanted to review for this episode, it was quite happy, like for me to achieve something for this long. That was really good. And like I said, it's been a fun learning curve, enjoying learning as I go along. And like I said, I'm no Joe Rogan, but I'm getting there. But I enjoy doing it, so that's the main thing. So I'm going to be reviewing movies that were filmed here in South Australia. They were horror films. So that's Cut 2000, starring Molly Ringwald and a cameo from Kylie Minogue. And also I'm going to be reviewing the Babadook from 2014. I'm also going to give a horrible mention to a 2017 film called Cargo, and that's a zombie film that was filmed in the not the outback South Australia, but like in the country regions of South Australia. So cool. Because it is a South Australian episode, we have a strong connection. I have too, a lot of respect for the original owners of this Adelaide region. So I have got a acknowledgement to country for the Kaurna people with this before I start the episode. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the living Kaurna people today. So thank you, and I'm just paying my respects to the traditional owners of the Adelaide area, which are the Kaurna people. So if you're from overseas, you're not familiar with Aboriginal culture, I encourage you to Google that and do a lot of research. They're a phenomenal group of people. Very ancient culture, very interesting culture to learn about as well. So please take the time if you're not familiar with Indigenous Australians. Please take the time to research and educate yourself and get familiar with a phenomenal race of people. Cool. So like I said, because it's South Aussie and it's the South Aussie horror episode, I'm going to be looking at horror films that were thick. Now doing that, I found some interesting stuff. One interesting little factoid that I came out with was, and I did not know this, we've got an amazing coastline in South Australia. Our waters are gorgeous. We've got this phenomenal situation where we've got the Adelaide Hills behind us, flat plains is where the city is, our suburbs, and then bang, there's the beach. So we're doing pretty good. We're in a really good location. Along our coastline, we've got a place called Spencer's Gulf, and in there there's an area called Dangerous Reef, and that in 1974, a group of people went out, a filming crew, grabbed some chum, chucked it in the water, thrashed it around, encouraged some great white sharks to come along, and they shot some footage. And that footage was then sent to Steven Spielberg, and that was put into Jaws. So there you go. So parts of South Australian Ocean is in Jaws. So even even if we don't try, we managed to get into some blockbuster films. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. While I was doing some research, I thought, no way, I never knew that. I just knew that doing the research. So I thought that was really really cool. So cut 2000 when it came out, I was 21 at the time, or probably 20, and then well, March 20 when that came out. So there was a lot of buzz around it. I went out and bought the CD for it, and I bought the DVD. I cannot find both to save my life. I've looked around everywhere for this. I've lent them, and they're gone. Like, so that's the end of that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try and hunt this around if I could purchase this. No, no deal. Very hard to grab now. The only reason why I was able to watch this was I had Amazon Prime. So Prime Video have got it as a streaming movie. So if you've got Prime, check it out. Just type in Cut, and it will come up in your thing. In YouTube, you got to put Cut brackets 2000, and in IMDb, you got to put Cut brackets 2000 because there's a lot of movies called Cut. And yeah, so is what it is. So this is why I wanted to review this one, because this is the kind of hypey movie that I remember. Like, I was one, it was a slasher movie. Two, it was like filmed in Adelaide. So instantly I just felt like this is insane. And then they said Molly Ringwald's involved and Kylie Minogue was in it, and I just remember, and I was like, this is like early internet, like, so I was trying to get as much info as I could about Cut, but just was really stoked, and then finally went to go and see it and just really enjoyed it. It's deemed as a comedy horror. It is a comedy horror. Being an Australian film, it does take the piss out of itself. Like, that's just how it is, but it's not over the top, tongue in cheek. Like, there's some serious scary bits in there. There's some gory bits in there. Aussie dialogue kind of being funny. That's in there as well. A really good young crew that went on. Some went on to do really big things in the movies. Stephen Curry being one of them it went on to do The Castle, and some other Aussie kind of movies as well. There's some South Australian actors and actresses that were involved in this film as well, so I'll mention them in the reviews too. And then I'm going to talk about also the Babadook, which is the more darker, sinister horror movie that was filmed here in Adelaide, and I found that out by accident, that it was filmed here in Adelaide. I had no idea. I knew it was an Australian movie, but I didn't realise it was filmed here in Adelaide until one particular scene, and I'll get into that because it's a very unique object to Adelaide, and that came up. So visually, I was like, what the hell? Like, I recognised where it was, and then I'll just do a mention for Cargo as well. Cool. So Kimball Randall directed Cut. He was the assistant director for iRobot with Will Smith, and also The Matrix Reloaded, and he was also the director for Bait, which was the one with it was crocs or sharks in the supermarket. I've just blanked now about it. But yeah, anyway, people are in trouble. I could have sworn it was sharks. It's more than likely crocs. Anyway, people are in a super. They're kind of in deep shit. Like, they're in water and they're trying to survive. Anyway, so I'll draw the rest. So yeah, he did the direction for Cut. The rating for this out of 10 is 4. It's not the best score in the world, and I'm not going to give it a massive high score either. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's entertaining. It's not a horrible film. but at the same time, it's not the best horror film I've ever seen. It sits in between. It's that popcorn slasher, turn your brain off horror film. That's exactly what it is. The release date, it came out in February 2000. So I went to go and see that at the cinema. So that was a summer movie for us. In the US, it got released very late, but it didn't really, like, you won't be able to watch it now unless you've got Prime. Like, it's unfortunately just how it is, like, for this. So it's made it hard for me to say, hey, go out and check it out, because it's kind of it's a hard, you can get it on YouTube, but it's got a Tamil dialect in there. So if you want to just watch the movie and not really give a shit what people are saying, you can watch it, but it's but if you kind of, if you care about your dialogue, I wouldn't suggest it watching in that format. But you can if you want to. But yeah, like I said, Prime is the thing. I thought I could get away with it by looking at a YouTube, and that's a no-go. And I think it's pretty hard to kind of get it on a DVD and a VHS format. So, is what it is. Yeah. So it's the premise of Cut is it's a movie within a movie, and funnily enough, both Cut and the Babadook, the underlying parallel between these two films is that it's art becoming real and then attacking like everybody. So Cut is a movie about a slasher in a movie that becomes the movie and then gets released every time a movie is watched. So it's not The Ring, but it's kind of almost in that same kind of premise where it's a haunted kind of cursed movie, videotape, whatever. The Babadook is a entity that comes out of an art book and starts to create a menacing, attacking the people that opened this book and read from its pages and summoned it that way. So that's what I did, and it didn't dawn on me until I started watching the Babadook, and then I thought, well, hang on a minute, like both these movies have that connection where it's, the connection of art getting real and terrorising the shit out of everyone. So yeah, be careful of your art that you're looking at is basically what you got to take away from that. So it's 1985 at the start of the film, and Molly Ringwald is in there. Her character name is, I've blanked on it, Vanessa Turnbull, and she's a young lady. It's 1985. It's her horror film kind of thing. And then the movie stops and you hear cut and Kylie Minogue comes out and she's the director, pretty pissed off with the direction that the scene's going. Molly Ringwald's pissed off with the guy called Scarman because he's stuffing up what he was supposed to do. And so, yeah, there's this tension on set. And then the movie, that kind of progresses offset and you see the Scarman director have a showdown over it. And yeah, that's how this kind of film becomes cursed. In the background, there's a gentleman in there with long hair and glasses. He then turns out to be the film lecturer that the two girls, Rafi and Hester, want to recreate this movie again. And so the film lecturer is basically saying, "Don't go there. Like it's bad news. It's a cursed movie. It's a bad film. Don't muck around with it. Like every time someone has attempted to do this film, they die. So don't whatever." The two reasons why these people die: the first one is they get murdered. It's a bit full on. The second one's a bit like, well, I'm not going to say what happens, but that could happen to anyone. Like, it's a bit weird that they went in that direction to say that was the cautionary tale for not to do this movie. But it's anyway. So the director he's kind of older now. He's a film lecturer, and he's kind of going, "Don't go there." And the moment he walks off, the girls go, "We're doing this movie." Like, so it was quite funny how they just kind of like, yeah, great story, bro. Like, and they just kind of went with the movie anyway. So, so the film starts, and so we get the half an hour of the character build up between, the dialogue between the characters, the love interests, that kind of stuff, and then half an hour into it, then they go to the location and they start filming the movie, and this summons the Scarman, and he starts knocking everyone off. So, and that's pretty much the movie. So that's it there. I won't go into massive depths. Some of the kills are pretty unique in this. The film location for the mansion in this movie is Raywood House. It's at Bridgewater, which is in the Adelaide Hills area, the suburb area up there. The house itself used to be the childhood home of a member of Parliament, or ex-member of Parliament, now retired, and so that was interesting in that section that they filmed there. Then they shot the movie in like probably 99, 2000, and then not long after that, a cult moved in. So they lived in this house for a few years, and then the cult got found and disbanded, or the cops raided, I can't remember. And now it's just a normal residential house. So it's got quite an interesting history behind it. If you Google Raywood House, Bridgewater, visually the house looks gorgeous. Like, it's an amazing house. So that's pretty cool. Now it's a private residence, but it's the classic thing of if these walls could talk, there'd be some interesting stories kind of there. But I thought it was not funny, but like, unusual that straight after this horror film was made, the fucking cult moves in. Like, I was just like, wow. So that's a pretty interesting little factoid there about the film. So the Molly Ringwald, there's some other great little kind of from someone from Adelaide watching the movie, you're gonna have a bit of a laugh, and the main one would be the Adelaide International Airport scene, where Molly Ringwald, she's just talking to her agent, played by Mr. Blackwell. I forgot his first name. I'll refer to him as Mr. Blackwell. The late Mr. Blackwell. He did pass away in 2019. He's been in a few Australian films. He was in Red Dog as well. And unfortunately he passed away in 2019. But he plays the agent for Molly Ringwald. Quite a humorous scene. He does a pretty decent American accent. And what's funny about the two scenes is, one, that it's got Hollywood Hills, and it's Molly Ringwald in her house, or a backyard, whatever, and there's a balcony, and there's this kind of scenery in the back. Now, an Adelaidean will go, that's Adelaide, straight off the bat. You can interest at the flat, plain, the suburban houses and stuff, you can recognise it straight off. And then there's this abundant use of plants and statues in this one corner where it's really overly populated with ornaments in this one corner. And I twigged, because that, if the camera was filming Molly Ringwald, behind her would be the Adelaide skyline. And at that time, it's not like it is now, where there's a few more taller buildings. Back in 2000, the only tall building was the State Bank building, which is now the Westpac building, and it's just giant column, double story thing, and that's it. That was our only kind of skyscraper that we had in the city. So it's like small building, skyscraper, small building, and yeah, so they kind of piled all this stuff in the set to block the skyline, which the Adelaide skyline, which I thought was quite funny and clever, like how they did it. Like it was clever how they did it. Like they put palm trees like in the thing and kind of Hollywooded it up a bit, and I thought that was cute. I thought it was well done. Like, you know, it was good. It made me have a bit of a chuckle. And then that scene before it cuts to the Adelaide International Airport, which is the other bit that made me laugh again out loud, was the agent goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're going economy." Well, cattle. What is she? Coach. That's right. She goes, "What?" Like she goes, "Oh, I'm going to Australia," and he goes, "Oh yeah, coach," and he goes, which is basically economy, and you see her walk out. So you see Molly Ringwald, like it's Molly Ringwald, but you see Molly Ringwald walk out of the Adelaide International Terminal, and back in 2000, it's not like it was now, which is like high tech, well done, whatever. We were still country banging it back in back in 2000, and a lot of international people that would land in Adelaide would go, and she had the biggest WTF face I've ever seen, and I couldn't tell whether she was actually acting or she was serious. Like it was that's the thing that made me laugh, because I thought, you know, most people had that W2F when they rocked up for Adelaide for the first time. I had rallies overseas come in and go, like, because they had to walk on the tarmac, and you walk out and it's got that 70s kind of late 70s, like 80s decor still, like the silver sliding doors and stuff. You walk out and it's just nostalgia street. You're like, oh my God. And she walks out and the only thing she's got is like this empty car park. And she's looking to the right, and then there's Adelaide International Airport on one of the signs, and it's got like I said, it's very 70s 80s kind of architecture, and then Rafi and the girl has to go to pick her up, and they pick her up in an all bashed up Datsun, and I was laughing at that because my mate's got the same station wagon, because I just thought, oh my God. And she had this like I said, this WTF one. She's like walking in going, this is a country town, this is not even a country town, like what the hell is this, like, and everyone had that gobsmacked look on their face when they rocked up for real at the Adelaide airport back in the day. And then like Molly Ringwald had the same face, and that's what cracked me up, because I thought, is she acting this or she legitimately gone, what the fuck is this, like. And then the Datsun pulls up, and she just again with the what the fuck face, and I was just it was too good. I just thought it was hilarious. So, and you can kind of tell Molly was a bit tongue in cheek with this as well. Like she was having fun with this, and was kind of taking the piss out of herself, because like she was kind of, you know, like on the 80s superstar kind of rocking up, and they just, yeah, here you go, get in the back of the Datsun. Like it's just like, yeah, it's very Aussie, and it doesn't matter who you are, you know, you're gonna get in the back of a Datsun. Like it's gonna happen. Stiff shit, suck it up. We don't care who you are. So yeah, it was that I thought was quite cute in the film and made me laugh. It was quite well done, and so once and then, yeah, like I said, there's some bits in and out of Adelaide that you'll recognise. You'll recognise Port Adelaide. There's a scene where all the cast and crew getting into a bus and move to the location, and you see certain landmarks around Port Adelaide that were in the scene, and then there's a cafe scene that was done at the Continental Cafe. That's not around anymore. That was on East Terrace. That's closed now. For some reason, I actually thought it was a cafe at Nord, where I grew up, one of the local suburbs off from me. But it actually wasn't. But I don't know. But there was one scene where they do drive through Norwood. You could recognise the town hall clock, which I thought was pretty cool. And yeah, I don't know. I think I think American viewers kind of they get used to seeing films in America, right? And especially if you grow up in LA, you see this stuff all the time. Like you just see LA nonstop all the time. But for us, in Adelaide, and suddenly there's an Adelaide movie, and they're not hiding the fact that they're filming in Adelaide. That's the other thing as well. Um, then it's a bit of a kick. Like you get a kick out of it. You're like, oh, this is good, and that's why I like Cut because there was a massive kick out of it because you recognise places they weren't hiding that they were filming it in Adelaide. Um, yeah, that was pretty good. So once they get to the house, they start filming, and that's when in the process of doing that they summon the Scar Man and he starts hacking people, and it's like this kind of last dance amongst the cast and crew to fight this entity off. And then the way they do that is unique in itself as well. I haven't seen that personally. If you're watching this and you have seen a film with a similar ending to that, feel free to jump in, and you have seen Cut, so you know what I'm talking about, then yeah, you can say, no, I've seen it in this movie. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say how the film ends, but how they end it is pretty interesting. How they do that was pretty good. And yeah, so that was cool. The actress involved in this that I want to talk about is Dr. Kathy. Now, her last name I can't really pronounce too well. It's Adamek, and I do apologise if that's incorrect. So I will refer to her as Dr. Kathy from now on. But she plays Julie Bardot. She's the makeup girl in the movie. The reason why I refer to her is because she also has an appearance in the Babadook at the end. And she is also the director of movement for the zombies and stuff in Cargo. So she's connected to all three movies, which is things she does. She's got a PhD. She's done lectures and stuff with University of Adelaide, and yeah, just a local actress that was 20 something back in the day in Cut, and has now progressed on and done amazing. And especially with Cargo, when I was researching to see what role she had in Cargo, and I saw her as the director of movement, I thought that was interesting because when you look at the movie Cargo, it's a tense movie. It's an unusual. Let's talk about Cargo, right? It's the horrible mention for Adelaide Horror Podcast. So it's Cargo 2017. Definitely check it out. Definitely check it out because this is kind of where zombie movies kind of started to peel off and get creative because it got to the exhaustion point. I'm not blaming The Walking Dead for that, but there was a period of time where it was zombie, and then the B-grade zombie movie industry just was like a kid on bloody red cordial, and they were pumping out zombie movies left, front, and center, and they were pretty shit. They were just hard to watch. Or you'll watch halfway through. I literally lasted a minute and 20 seconds into one zombie film. I started watching it. The actor turned around and went blah, and it was so shit, that I just went nah. I literally wage quit in the middle of a zombie, which is just unheard of. And I just went. That's my kid agreeing with me how shit that was. There was she was one and she thinks that zombie movie shit. I was just like, that is horrendous. And I started reading various articles, and they were talking about if we don't back off, we're going to end up wrecking the zombie genre too. We're going to overtap it like they did with vampires. And and I was getting a bit concerned about it as well because I really like the zombie genre, and I was getting pretty worried because I was like, oh god, if we hadn't had zombies for such a long time, and then they started introducing ghouls into the mix, which was fantastic because as a kid I was massively into ghouls, like, and then it kind of, they were just weird shit, like with zombie stuff, and I was like, oh god. And there was this pull off. Suddenly everyone just started pulling away from the sun, like they kind of realized, shit, we're flying a bit too close, and they backed off and they started to get creative with the zombie genre. So the main drivers of this were the South Koreans, because they came out with Kingdom and they came out with #Alive, which is on Netflix, and holy moly, those zombies terrify the shit out of me. Like, and someone said it in a quote, like in a meme, if we get South Korean zombies, we're fucked. Like, and I was like, I couldn't agree more. Like, because they are horrendously horrifying. Like the cracking when they stand up and how they do the head movement. So the point I'm trying to get to, because I'm waffling again, Dr. Kathy, she's the director of movement. So when you can tell she's gone in and has looked at just and I'm not going to spoil how the zombies behave in this movie, but if she created this movement, fantastic. Like, good on you, Dr. Kathy. Just superb. Like, when I saw it, I was like, so what now? And then the zombies were doing their thing, and I was like, shit, that is like over here, like, you know, zombie stuff. And it was really well done, very creative, and sinister as well. And if mate, well done, Dr. Kathy, on that one. Well done. So, you know, she's, like I said, she's done some great beginnings. She was in Cut and she moved through. She's done, you know, short films and stuff. So it was pretty good to see South Australians in this film. So, Kathy, and the next person I'm going to mention is Jeff Revell. Now, Jeff Revell is another actor from Adelaide. He is the film lecturer in the movie, Mr. Lossman. He's the one that's saying, look, girls, don't touch this film, like blah, 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 because he's the guy in the background next to Kylie Minogue in 1985 with the long hair and the glasses, like as the film crew guy where all the shit kind of kicks off. And he's just trying to tell her not to think. So this guy's a local actor. He's done a lot of theatre. He's done a few movies, and so it was good to see. So there's 3 South Australian actors and actresses involved in this movie, which is really, really good. So I'll move on. I'm going to now talk about the Babadook. Now, well, what can I say? I've been very interested in watching reviews about the Babadook from people that are overseas and what their interpretation of this film is, because the Babadook, it took me by surprise. It was one movie and it became something else, and which is why I'm highly impressed about this film. The South Australian discovery is the thing, because I was watching, they've got Australian cars that I recognise. You know, we've got Audis and you know, other European cars and all that kind of stuff. And she was just driving this distinct station wagon. That's an Australian. It's Mitsubishi. It's an Australian station wagon. But the thing that jumped out that it was Adelaide, and I went, whoa, was our electricity pole. Now, I had to kind of stop then to think about what it was. It's an electricity pole. People from Adelaide referred to it as a stovey pole. And no one interstate, like, it's none of the electricity poles interstate are designed how we had it. Our design now is somewhat changed, but back then in other suburbs, I'm assuming they're still around. It's metal, concrete in the middle, and metal on the edges like that. And so, like I said, we referred to as a stovepole. So there's a particular scene. I wasn't really focusing on the background. There's a scene where she pulls over, and you see the car, and there's the stovey pole, and I just went, "Holy shit, this is Adelaide!" Like, because I didn't realise it was filmed in Adelaide. I just knew it was an Australian horror film, but didn't know it was in Adelaide. So I was like, "Holy crap! Like, this is amazing." It proceeded to get my interest even more. Like, so I thought, no, definitely reviewing this for an Adelaide episode, like, for sure. And so that's why the Babadook made the grade today for the Adelaide horror podcast episode. So, and then it freaked me out even harder because I thought, great, the Babadook's in Adelaide, I'm never sleeping again. Like, fantastic. Like, so I was just like, I really hope, this was I've mentioned it a couple episodes back. This one gave me the delayed nightmare. Like, most horror films I'll watch, and I'll watch something funny before going to bed, and I'm good. Like, it cancels it. Like, I don't dwell about it, or I don't think about it afterwards, or I'll walk down a dark corridor and suddenly I'm reliving that movie again. I don't usually have that problem. I used to have it when I was younger. Now, I don't know, 40, probably got a lot more shit on my mind, and so I'm just like, I'm not really worried about the monster jumping out of the cupboard. I'm worried about the bill coming in, or my health, or other stuff, my kid. You kind of priorities change. So I was a good 4 days, and then I had a full-blown fucking Babadook nightmare, and I just wake up just going, fuck this movie. Like, holy shit. It just came out of nowhere. It just scared the bejesus out of me. And I scared the bejesus out of myself. Like, because in the movie, in the dream, which is like a fucking movie, like when I have a dream, the reality of suddenly the corridor spun down, like, away from me. It was extending, and it was all black and white, and then you could hear this Babadook, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, and I woke up literally going like, and I remember getting up and walking through the house thinking, is this son of a bitch in my house? Like, have I got the Babadook in my house now? Like, this is the problem when you film a horror film in Adelaide. It gets a bit too close, like, So I was kind of flipping out a little bit and walking around, and no shit, just going room to room, like, checking for the Babadook. Like, I was just like, it was crazy. Grown ass man, freaked out. Like, and then I came back and I sat back down on my bed, and I thought about it, and I went, fucking well done. Like, if this movie could have that kind of effect on somebody 4 days after, like, that's they've done their job, like, well done. So that was pretty good. I have a laugh about it now. Back then I was shit my pants, but, like, I was freaked out. But I got there, I got over it, so that was good. I haven't had any Babadook nightmares after that, so that's good. It's interesting now, I've seen the Babadook probably 4 times. It still gives me the freaking creeps, though. Like, I saw a still picture of the smiling Babadook image, and the hairs on the back of my head still stood up. Back of my head. The back of my neck, like, where I got hair. I just got the tingles. I was just like, so it's still a visually empowering movie in that sense. So cool, we'll get into the Babadook. Okay, so the Babadook, 2014, directed by Jennifer Kent. Jennifer is a Queenslander, and she also was the director for Nightingale and Monster, and also another film called Dogville, where she was additional crew on that. She's done TV shows, All Saints, which is medical, drama in Australia. And also she was the lab lady in Babe Pig in the City. Really great TV. 96, she was in 2 episodes of Police Rescue, which is another really good show that I used to watch. That was really, really good. The New Adventures of Black Beauty, and early 90s A Country Practice. So that's she's got some really good credits. Anyway, she's the director for the Babadook, and did a phenomenal job in directing the actors and actresses to portray this story in different layers. And just how I describe this movie is that it's just like this ticking thing that unravels as it's ticking. So every time there's a tick, it unravels a bit more and it unravels a bit more, and you can almost hear this movie unraveling. Like the story unravels, it gets way more suspenseful. It really builds up tension. It just ramps every time. There's no break. Like it's a slow, gradual build up of tension right till the end, and you're almost at you're almost peaking alongside the main actress. So the main actress is the character's name is Amelia. She has a son named Samuel, so played by Elsie Davis. Now, Essie Davis, you'd know her from Mrs. Fisher, the TV show Mysteries. She was also in the TV show about the true events of the Ned Kelly gang. And also, just excuse me because I'm double checking. And Assassin's Creed. That's right. She was Carl's mum in Assassin's Creed. So her portrayal as this single mum that's a survivor of a car accident. Her husband died. Now, she was pregnant at the time, on the way to hospital to deliver Samuel. So this is my kind of understanding of the scenario, because it's complex, right? Is I feel this movie, the Babadook, is a menacing entity that gets summoned out of this book, but at the same time, it's almost her depression in physical form, and it's a creature that torments her non-stop, and it's kind of, that's how she's dealing with what's going on. Samuel is a young boy played by Noah Wiseman. I've heard a lot of people when they review too about the Babadook that this kid was a massive pain in the ass. And the kid wasn't a pain in the ass. Noah was a fantastic actor. He portrayed this kid that this is a small boy who's got this ball and chain around his. He's got he's too little to understand, but we can turn around and say he's got survivor's guilt, right? But he's just got this ball and chain, and he throws it into conversation. My dad died on the day that I was born. That's why I can't have a birthday. The sister who's of Amelia, who's Claire, played by Hayley McKinnon, just doesn't get her. She's stressing out, saying, your behaviour isn't normal for the kid, blah, 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 but at the same time as being a bit of a bitch. And, Amelia's just trying to do the best she can with the shit sandwich that she got, and isn't doing well, isn't coping well. There's people around her that empathise with her, that want to help her. Some genuinely want to help her, some are doing it for their own needs. And what I mean by that is Robbie's character, played by Daniel Henshaw, great actor as well. He was in another film set in South Australia, but that was based on true life serial killings that occurred, and some bodies were put in a barrel in a place called Oh God, Snowtail. As if freaking I blanked, almost blanked, and the movie's called Snowtown. How stupid is that? Anyway, that's a bit of a hot potato, so I'm not gonna go with that. But he plays one of the serial killers, and in real life they're serving their time. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. It is quite a complex, controversial topic, so I'm just going to leave that where that is and move on. But it's not a horror movie; it's real life horror. It's true horror, true crime, true horror kind of thing that happened in Adelaide. And I'll leave it at that. He plays one of the serial killers, and he did a phenomenal job as an actor. Well done. In this movie, he plays Robbie, who's the co-worker for Amelia. Amelia kind of works in a nursing home and as a carer. And speaking from experience, it's a hard job as well. It's very emotional. And when you have this happening in her life with her kid and her late husband and all this kind of stuff, it is just emotionally draining and very taxing on her and will mentally break anybody. He seems genuine, is kind of the love interest, but I just kind of felt like he wanted to get in her pants, and he was kind of doing the sympathetic thing to do that. That's kind of how I interpret it. Could be wrong, but that's how I interpreted it. So he's one level of someone trying to show empathy and supporting her. The other aspect, however, is Mrs. Roach, who's the neighbour of Amelia and Samuel. Lovely old lady, phenomenal actress. She's been around since the 1955, like when my mum was born. So that's a pretty decent film credit. She's been on most of the popular TV shows throughout the 60s and 70s. She was in Breaker Morant in the 80s, which is a biographical movie about an Australian character there. So she was in that movie as well. So she's got quite a good film record behind her. And her name is Barbara West. Her character, Mrs. Roach, she's genuinely gives a shit. What I got from Mrs. Roach is that she's been there. Like, it's almost like she doesn't have to say it. It's just how she's got that old lady, like, I know, darling, are you okay? And then when they walk off, they always the camera always seems to kind of pan to her, and she does that sympathizing, I know, darling, I know, dear, I understand. Like, she gets it kind of thing. What I can interpret is maybe a similar situation happened to her. Like, I don't know if she lost her husband or, if she's got any kids or, but she's just been, you could tell she's had the same experience. And so she gives that empathy to her all the time and has got a lot of patience for Samuel and, whatever. And Samuel's just trying to process being a kid, trying to protect his mum, terrified that he's going to lose his mum as well. So there's that kind of thing over. This kid's dealing with a lot of shit, and it is really some heavy stuff for a kid to have to tackle. And I think for an adult, they're going to, his mum is an adult and she's struggling with that. This is a young kid trying to do it. So he's diving into magic. He's putting his dad's clothes up so it looks like his dad's still alive kind of thing and all this kind of stuff. So he's heavily trying to deal with his own way. And he's been raised to think that he can't celebrate his birthday because that's the day that his dad died. And that's some pretty heavy shit to put on a kid. And so that's kind of where we're at with these guys, with the main characters anyway. So, of course, he's getting in trouble at school and, they're struggling and, you see the people, it's just one kick in the guts after another for Amelia, just non-stop. It's just one hit and then she's trying to recover from that, and then bang, another hit, and then trying to recover from that. And she hasn't even opened up the Babadook book yet. Like, so you're thinking, shit, like. So when she actually just sits down, like in this thing that's completely innocent, this scene, it really, I just kind of thought to myself, it was like, holy shit, if she didn't pick up this book, right, you know, I'm not going to say she had a good life, but that would be like 99 problems, and the Babadook book is one. Like, you know, like she just added to it. This is now the 100th problem that's now taken over the house, like, and her life, and is trying to freaking kill her. Like, so it's gone really full on. So she goes, she adds to the sits down and starts reading the thing, and inadvertently ends up summoning this Babadook thing, right? Because, and so this is where the movie turns, and like I said, it's a movie that goes one way and it goes the other. You think it's going to go, you know, where it is. And then this is where the slow introduction to the Babadook comes into this, and this is where it kind of gets a bit freaky. All right. The thing that I didn't notice, and it's like the good third viewing that I realized as well, pay attention to the color dynamic in this thing. The house and the police station when she goes to report it, and even how the cops look, you know, there's this discoloration, like everyone, they don't look right, like the colors off. And I didn't really twig, and it was like I said, it was like the third view in, I went, is that purple? Like, and it was just, it started to, and it's almost like it took on the colors inside the book, like, and then she was in the book, and I was thinking, holy shit, hang on a minute. So just something to consider, like when you, as the movie progresses on, and then eventually there's the showdown with the Babadook. So, and the menacing kind of thing. There's going to be some triggers at this point. There's two. And like I said, if you've heard some of the other episodes, kids and animals in a horror film getting hurt or killed or put in peril, it's a bit of a trigger for me, and I struggle through that. I have to really push myself to keep watching, and if it's too full on, I just don't watch the movie at all. That's my barrier. That's where I stop. That's where I tap out. There's a scene. Okay, I'll tackle the dog. You got the trigger warning about the dog, right? They go there. You kind of know it's going to happen before it happens. So that's kind of a blessing, because you can skip 15 seconds. You don't have to see it. If that doesn't bother you, watch it through, no problem. I don't like it, so I skip through it, and that's that. The other I'm going to talk about is the potential wanting to harm a child, like, and actively hunting to do that. That may really disturb people, and this film goes there in a big way. So if you're, and I was uncomfortable through that whole bit. That's where you kind of give a nod to the director, because she wanted, and for Elsie Davis as well, to that performance to not make you feel good, like to make you very uncomfortable, outright terrified for the kid. They do that. So that's where the Babadook goes. Like, this is kind of a different level of horror. This isn't the Boo, the scary monster in the cupboard. This is potentially a loved one being the monster, and that's where that's a different level of scary altogether. So that's just something to keep in mind. Um, then you got the end of the film. I won't talk about the end of the film. I won't spoil the end of the film. The film ends in a pretty decent, unique way, and I really thought that was good. And it got me thinking. And like I said, this movie, after I stopped the movie, it had me thinking about it afterwards, and not that it terrified me and I couldn't go to sleep, even though it gave me a delayed 4-day nightmare. Like after, on the fourth day, it came back and scared the crap out of me. It made me think about what really the meaning of this movie is, and I think it's really dealing with mental health. Like it's when people have the black dog, and it's just the Babadook is that black dog, like for Amelia, and then it goes after the kid. And it tries to get to her by trying to harm Samuel, and yeah, that was a pretty. Once I got to that conclusion, that was pretty powerful, and I was like, wow, it's a horror film that really makes you think about it, yeah, it's so. There's numbers. If you're watching this, there is numbers for you to ring. If you're dealing with depression or anxiety, and it's getting to you, or you know someone that's struggling with that, please look up the numbers in your local area to do that. In Australia, we've got Beyond Blue. Please don't hesitate to ring those numbers and get the help you need and the support you need. And it's more important to have someone just listen to you while you talk about these things, rather than talk at you about what you should be doing. So please do that. I'm offering that too. If you want to write to me, yeah, and you don't know who to talk to, but you just want someone to listen or whatever, it's private and confidential, that's fine. I could do that as well. But if not, yeah, please ring those numbers. If you're overseas, look up your numbers that you would be on Google, and they will come up with your numbers that you would need to ring. Yeah, so that's don't know if that was intentional for the Babadook, but that's kind of what I took from it, and what I interpreted, like what the Babadook was trying to do and try to highlight as well. It was a real struggle, one woman struggle that ended up jeopardizing and putting her son in harm's way, unintentionally as well. It's not like, like I said, she had 100 problems before this came up. Yeah, that's what really impressed me about the Babadook. Why it's not just your run-of-the-mill horror film. And that's the buzzer. So the horrible mention is 2017 Cargo, and that's a zombie film filmed around the Adelaide Hills area, and also along the Murray River as well. And that's what makes it a unique zombie film. We've got the thing that I really dug about that movie was the Indigenous actors involved in this, and then Indigenous communities and how they fought the zombie menace, how they go traditional, like with weaponry and stuff like that. And I thought that was really impressive, and I really dug that movie. I thought that was really, really good. Reason why I'm not covering that is because I've folded into the zombie stuff, so I'm not covering that. But that's why I thought it would be a horrible mention for the Adelaide, because it's from Adelaide. So yeah, cool. So with that, that is the episode 16 of the Adelaide Horror Podcast, the 1 year anniversary special. Thank you very much. Thank you for the people that have been writing to me on Messenger and stuff like that, giving me support and just chatting about films and or leaving comments on the YouTube channel. That's really great. The people that have helped with artwork and just going out and interviewing people as well. I really enjoy doing that. I've got a few people that I have lined up and that I'm going to be interviewing throughout the year, so that's going to be good as well. I've chalked out a whole bunch of films to review as well for this year, so that's good. I'm looking forward to that as well. Like I said, I'm no Joe Rogan, but I'm kind of getting into the podcasting side of it as well. So the Spotify and Stitcher episodes have gone up of this episode 16 as well. It's a bit longer. I don't go into crazy depth. I didn't want to spoil too much. I really want to encourage people to go out and check it out without talking about it. But like I said, because of the availability issues with cut, I'm more than happy to, if you write to me, I'm happy to talk to you about it and tell you what happened. But it was pretty good. So I've got a few things lined up for this year, which is great. Again, thank you for the support. I appreciate some of the likes. It's good. Thank you for being patient with me while I've been learning the podcasting process and the vlogging process as well. So the YouTube channel, that kind of stuff. I have been enjoying doing it. So cool. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and it's really good. So thank you. The other idea I am tossing out, and I'm kind of putting it out there now, is to possibly have a co-host for the show. I'd rather have someone next to me here rather than me and this potato head going blah 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 about movies. So if you're mad keen on the horror films and like I said, Adelaide, we could kind of move around a bit more at the moment with the situation. So just drop us a line, see if you're interested in doing a co-host, just to bounce off ideas for films, and just someone else, but I can't keep having my friend Talora come in and paint me up every time as a zombie, so it's only on special occasions that I'm going to be Zombie Joe in the flesh. It'll be good. So contact me that way if you're keen on doing that, or like I said, if you're a local artist in the horror, covering something in the horror genre, and you're from Adelaide, give me a bell. If you know anybody, let them know, and I'll be happy to interview them as well. That'll be good. And cool. So that's that. That's episode 16, and cool. Stay scary, and I'll see you in the crypt.